Hey folks, today is Friday, May 17th, 2024. As usual, my name is Jake Baldino, here to talk about the gaming news that has been going on this week. I'm at home, and there's a lot to talk about. Why am I already out of breath? Let's just jump in. The first thing is actually a legitimate, real update on when we're getting Grand Theft Auto 6. Yes, I'm not BSing you. The release window has now been narrowed down. Of course, as you probably know, if you've been following, we've known roughly when GTA6 was coming with like financial quarters and stuff like that, but those things confuse me. Q1, Q4, what is a Q anyway? I'm kidding, but now it has now officially been confirmed that the release window has been narrowed to fall 2025. There you have it, folks. Fall 2025. Mark your calendars. That is when the world will end. I mean, when you're playing Grand Theft Auto 6. Hopefully, games get delayed. Rockstar games have been delayed. So, take that with a grain of salt. But it is an official confirmation that that is the window that they are shooting for. It feels really far away, but it's not. I mean, the older I get, I feel like time moves faster and faster. So I think GTA 6 might as well be like next week at this point. Still, that's it. I'm sure we're going to be talking a lot more about Grand Theft Auto 6, of course, as things keep moving. But as of right now, at least you have a rough window to look forward to. Now, in other news, some PlayStation executive changes. Jim Ryan, head of PlayStation, of course, retired. So now we know who is officially stepping into those leadership roles after like temporary positions and stuff. Now, this stuff isn't the most exciting. It's very businessy stuff, but I always say it's good to at least kind of know who is at the top making the decisions about some of your favorite, games and hobbies. So here's the deal. This time they've kind of broken things up for like a co-CEO type of deal. So you have Herman Hulst, who we know who was like a former former Guerrilla Games leader Herman Hulst, who has been heading up PlayStation Studios, like the whole thing, is now going to be CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment's studio business group, handling the game making, the IP, and like Sony's IP expanding beyond games and stuff like that. And then Hideaki Nishino is going to be CEO of SIE's platform business group. So presumably he's going to be focused on like the hardware technology side of things. So this is significant. I believe this is the first time Sony has ever had co-CEO anything type of thing. Of course, they're still reporting to Sony head of all Sony, Hiroki Totoki, but on the PlayStation side of things, now it's two guys leading the charge. Now, switching gears, if we are talking leadership, there's been a lot of conversation, of course, about Xbox over the last few weeks, and the newest report from the Wall Street Journal suggests that after deliberations that were rumored, Xbox is going to be bringing the new Call of Duty to Game Pass when it launches. This, if true, again, this is not officially confirmed yet. It's Wall Street Journal reporting, inside sources and stuff like that. If true, I think this is a pretty dramatic shift. It is a big move. Is it the right move? I don't know for sure. I think it's interesting that the Activision Call of Duty model for so long has been built on the model of every year getting people to pay $60 or $70 for a game. Now they're losing a significant chunk of that with people having Game Pass and doing that. Obviously, the Game Pass price and how much they get from subscriptions and stuff will go subsidize that, but it feels like it's going to change something. I don't know what. I am not smart enough to know what. So I did link an inverse piece. They spoke to an actual real analyst, someone from academia who can speak to this. So if you want to read that and anything else I talk about this week, all the sources will be linked in the description down below. But yeah, let me know what you think. Call of Duty on Game Pass. Is that good for you? Are you an Xbox player? Are you not? Let me know where you land and how you feel. Also, if we are talking on the Xbox side, we talked about like the Bethesda layoffs and stuff last week, but we know that they are still working on a Doom something. It's been rumored for a while. It's been kind of a little hinted at for a while. I've heard rumblings for like a long time. And now at this point, it seems like we might know something soon. A new trademark was filed, specifically IDKFA, which of course is like an old school reference, but we have known that this may be called Doom Zero Year. Sorry, Doom Year Zero. It's a little generic of a title, if that is the real title. I wonder what that's going to be about. Maybe it's going to be even more of a throwback. Who knows? But as an old school Doom head, I'm just curious to see what they're cooking up. Now, if we are at this point where we're just talking about announcements that are coming, because summer is coming soon, Summer Gamefest is going to be soon. That's like the big Jeff Keighley presentation, I believe June 7th, with new game announcements and stuff like that. And now we do know that 2K plans to reveal the next iteration in one of 2K's biggest and most beloved franchises at Summer Game Fest. So What could that be in terms of like one of their franchises? It could be Bioshock. There's been a Bioshock game in the works for a long time now. Not a Ken Levine Bioshock, but 2K of course has the IP, so something has been coming. Or maybe a new Mafia game. We don't know for sure, but we know something is coming. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll be there. So if you're going to be there, say hi. Or if you're watching the stream, keep an eye out for me. Maybe I'll wear I'll hold a weird sign. I probably won't. I'll probably get arrested. But now briefly, this episode is sponsored by NordVPN. If you're new around here, NordVPN is the #1 thing we've been installing on all of our machines at gameranx, my phone, here at home for online security. With NordVPN, you switch it on and you're protected, and all of your data stays safe behind a wall of next generation encryption. But there's also actually a lot of fun you can have with a VPN. If you shop online a lot of the times, some certain stores, the prices vary by region. They're adjusted depending on your location. So believe it or not, by switching on NordVPN and changing your location, you potentially open yourself up to access to different regional pricing for certain stores. Maybe you're going on a trip or something, you may find cheaper airline tickets, or maybe you buy games from third-party stores. For me now, it's a habit. I have NordVPN on my desktop and I have it on my phone, and I always check before I buy something to see if I can potentially get a better deal. And if you don't know, one of the best things is the various streaming sites out there offer content to different regions. So if you switch your region, one of the top streamers' libraries may be completely different for you, and you may have a bunch of new stuff to watch. It's super easy to download and set up. Anyone can do it, and it's risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. So right now, you can get an exclusive deal and an additional 4 months when you go to the link in the description down below, or head to nordvpn.com/gameranx. It's the best deal you can get on the internet right now, so once again, click it down there. It's nordvpn.com/gameranx, and big thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring our videos. Anyway, moving on from that, talking 2K, Take-Two's CEO, Strauss Zelnick, did essentially have a weird thing this week. We talked a few shows back about the closure of Roll7, the people behind Rollerdrome, Ollie World, and Kepler, the people behind Kerbal Space Program 2. More industry layoffs, of course, have been in the headlines forever. But now, the person above all of that, Take-Two CEO, again, Strauss Zelnick, said, and I quote, to IGN, when asked why those closures happened, he said, and I quote, "We didn't shutter those studios, to be clear. And we are always looking at our release schedule across all of our studios to make sure that it makes sense. So we are being very judicious because we are in the middle of a cost reduction program that we've already concluded." Shut up. Sorry, but essentially this is just another, long line of like breaking news. Big head CEO guy is weird. I don't know if this is a legal thing, an admission type thing, but those people are not going to work anymore. Those studios are closed. When pushed for comment, a rep did give a weird tax filing explanation, but still, it's just bizarre and also just a weird look. You couldn't just acknowledge yeah, we did it, sorry. Nothing, just be that didn't happen. Come on. Maybe I'm not smart enough to understand the tactics behind that. I don't know. I don't care. Now, in other news, Assassin's Creed Red, codenamed Red, the feudal Japan Assassin's Creed game been in the works, has now officially been revealed as Assassin's Creed Shadows, with a big, flashy CGI trailer confirming the Japanese setting, with 2 playable protagonists, one a Japanese woman, kind of shinobi-esque character, and then the big, heavy samurai, loosely based on historical figure Yasuke. And opinions are all over the place online, for the protagonists, who they are, what they are, also whether or not Assassin's Creed is back, finally a feudal Japan game, or are people tired of it at this point? For me, I'm is this going to be good? That's all I really care about. And this is from the same line of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Origins, Valhalla. So it's going to be a big, vast thing. They did confirm that the world size is about the size of Origins, which is smaller, way smaller than the massive Odyssey. So at least it's not going to be this exhaustive thing. I'm looking for quality over quantity. But the bigger issue, in my opinion, is Ubisoft doing a couple of, game industry things. First, taking pre-orders for a game that they haven't even shown gameplay of yet, just a flashy CGI trailer. On top of that, they are continuing to push what they did with Outlaws, just a really wild pricing structure. It's just a lot. It's a $70 game in the US, but then you can get a $110 edition that gets you pre-order bonuses, early access, and a season pass, and then a $130 version that gets you even more content. It's just exhausting for what is just a single player game. They came out and said like, oh, hey, after you download the game to play single player, you don't have to always be online. That's great. I appreciate that. But, you know, with everything else going on, all the business practice stuff and like a single player game with a season pass, I don't know, man. Of course, as you know, I got you covered with Before You Buy. I judge a game when it is in my hands, when I am seeing it and playing it and believing it for myself. So I'll let you know then. And in two other bits of quick news, Square Enix announced that they are going to be more aggressively pushing a multi-platform approach, which sounds like, yeah, no, duh, obviously. But you might remember that they also recently did the new Final Fantasy Remix games just on PlayStation at first. So they announced that moving forward, they're going to make sure that they put more games on PC and Xbox and possibly Switch. So there's that. But also, don't miss that Ubisoft announced that they canceled The Division Heartland. This was going to be that free-to-play Division game that took place more in the suburbs. So if you were looking forward to that, unfortunately, that's gone. Another one on a long list at this point. Now, in other news, some things that have released this week. First is the return of Homeworld. Homeworld 3, the first mainline Homeworld game in a long time, is out. There are some different opinions out there, but, you know, I say check out my buddy Skill Up's video. He did a great job breaking it down. He's a big weird nerd. Also, Men of War 2, if you're looking for something a little bit different, that dropped this week. Also, don't miss Ghost of Tsushima on PC. If you're looking for some cool feudal Japan action, look no further. I love the shit out of this game. It starts off as just kind of like, it feels like another open world game, but as you get into it, there's a lot of depth. It's really chill. It's got an incredible story, and I'm really digging replaying it on PC. I actually got it on my Steam Deck, and it kind of runs pretty all right. So if you want to check out like a breakdown, I did a quick Before You Buy on that. If you want to see some ultra wide gameplay, I'll link that in the description as well. Also, in case you missed it, because there's a couple of us out there who still miss the Fight Night boxing games, Undisputed has been in the works for many years now as kind of like a spiritual successor to that. It got a new trailer and a final actual release date, October 11th of this year. I played this a couple of years back at a thing, like a work in progress. It's a little bit more technical, a little bit more in-depth than something like Fight Night, but I did really like what I saw, so I'm hoping that project has moved along further, and we'll know in October. Oh, and in terms of something to look forward to, despite layoffs and studios closing and your favorite franchises disappearing, a new studio has been established under Activision called Elsewhere Entertainment. This is announced as a studio backed by some of the people behind stuff like Uncharted, The Witcher 3, so like some good pedigree, and they are apparently working on a narrative-driven like adventure AAA game. That's all we know. They've been working on it for a minute now, so maybe there's some cool thing to look forward to down the line. And also with that, like entertainment studios have announced like this whole new Friday the 13th franchise thing. It's going to be Friday the 13th movies, TV, and games, believe it or not. And I expect us to actually see something from possibly a Friday the 13th game soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And if you are curious about like the whole Embracer thing and like the fact that they still are going to be making more Lord of the Rings games, I linked an interview with their head below if you want to kind of get some context on that. But I just wanted to kind of end on games on the horizon because there's always a lot of doom and gloom. But let me know what you think about all the stories going on this week. From the changes at PlayStation's leadership to Call of Duty potentially coming to Game Pass, and the Grand Theft Auto release window of fall 2025. What are you going to be doing then? Huh? Let me know. Let's talk about any of this stuff down in the comments. I want to hear from you guys, so hit us up. We'll be down in the comments, of course, but things get a little crazy. So if you want to yell at me directly, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, at Jake Baldino. My YouTube channel is called at Jake Baldino. I just made a video on Hellblade from 2017, kind of looking back before the new game, but that's really it. So thank you guys very much for watching, getting caught up on the news with me every week. I'm always here, but all I ask is that you have a great weekend, be safe, pizza's on me.